since it's really just Tammy and Jean, which would you guys like to discuss first, hydration or sleep?
I think they go hand in hand, but you can start with sleep if you want. Women my age are notably
Okay.
terrible times at night. Sometimes, not all the time, but quite often. I don't know of a woman that doesn't have trouble with sleep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with sleep. I'm going to talk about 7 ways to naturally improve your snooze. And so, you know, as you say, Jean, really a huge percent of the population struggles getting enough sleep. And so our lives are so busy, so hectic. It's really kind of hard to calm the mind. And like myself in the past, we can sort of just think ourselves awake for hours. And so that's something that I most certainly have struggled with. And so if we can follow some natural, simple, and proven steps, then we can make a big difference with our sleep. And as we go through them, you know, they may seem too simple or too unconventional or whatever. I'm just at the end, I'm gonna, you know, ask you to maybe try one of them for a week or whatever, and see if that can make a difference. And then if it does, then maybe we can try another one. You know, several of these things piled together can make a huge difference in your sleep patterns. And so most of this is based on what naturally affects your sleep patterns. So your circadian rhythms are part of it. You know, your busyness through the day, the speed of life is part of it. So there's a lot that goes into it. So right off the bat, I guess the most obvious one is minimize stimulant use. And so after dinner, coffee, tea, energy drinks, all of that kind of stuff can easily rob you of snooze time. So using exercise, morning sun, eating for energy, and those natural solutions are way better than some quick fix that will have you crashing later. Sugar is famous for that crash, and so obviously all these monster drinks and all that stuff is just packed full of sugar. You get a quick wake up and a little bit hyper for a while, and then you crash. So it's certainly not serving us to have those things in our lives. So after about 7 or 8 at night, I encourage people to drink water or other non-stimulant beverages. So that's the first thing, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it may even seem too obvious, but that can certainly help. So after that, around 9 p.m. is a good time to start skipping screens and most foods. So kiwi and a couple others are super high in serotonin, and so those foods might actually help. But most foods do not. If your body goes into digestion mode, it is not necessarily in sleep mode, and so that can cause some stuff. So blue light from phone, tablet, TV, and most other modern screens cause a disruption in circadian rhythms. And so that, I don't know, I could do a whole class on circadian rhythms, but they relate to our energy, our focus, our sleep, and other health issues. And so with that, if you're going to be looking at screens after 9, I encourage you to get blue blockers. Blue light in a bright sense is something that doesn't happen in nature. So there's no sources of bright blue light in nature, and our eyes are not equipped to protect us from these rays. They cause macular degeneration and other problems with the eyes, and they knock off these circadian rhythms. So blue blockers can help with that simply by blocking this harmful wavelength of light. And so there are also, I'm sorry?
Can I interrupt?
I didn't hear, yeah, please.
The blockers, does that eliminate that interference with your sleep, or is it something that doesn't happen immediately?
It should over time help. So if you are typically up till whatever 11 at night and you're going through social media or watching movies or whatever, it will take time for your circadian rhythms to reset. So I'm going to talk to you about other ways to support your circadian rhythm naturally. And so this is one of the ways. So if you are switching over using blue blockers and these other strategies, then in some sort of, difficult to say how long, but some amount of time, you should gain a reset of that, and your sleep should improve. So yeah, I would encourage you to do that. It'll help your eyes. It likely will also help your sleep rhythm. So those are the first two things, mostly at night, you know, watching stimulant use and then avoiding most screens and most foods as well. So that's night. Are any questions or thoughts about those two? Pretty straightforward stuff. So then we're going to skip to morning. So along with darkness at night goes light in the morning. So my recommendation is to watch the sunrise if you can. I'm not sure if you get up that early, but there's no UV light early in the morning. So you can literally stare at the sun and it won't hurt your eyes. It may actually heal them, based on some interesting research that's been done recently. But regardless of that, if you're getting 20 minutes of early morning sun exposing as much skin as you possibly can, you build a ton of vitamin D, and it can help start to reset those circadian rhythms for you. Those are a couple things that can happen with morning sun. Another fairly straightforward idea, but again, darkness at night, sun in the morning. Every single culture on Earth throughout history has revered the sun. And I guess the best way I heard it put is that humans are basically plants with attitude. We just need sun, we need water, and the rest typically takes care of itself. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. So any questions about sunrise, or rather sun in the morning, and how that can help?
I would just like to say, you mentioned that last week about the sun in the morning, and it has helped me just with feeling somehow just more balanced. I can't explain it. I just noticed a difference. So thanks for the tip, because it worked.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you
and I
used
have been
the word
sleeping better. Yeah.
Great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, you know, that recommendation goes for a lot of different issues. The sun is a powerful tool. And so I'm glad that you used the word balance, because what getting out in the sun does for us is it grounds us. And so when we are naturally grounded, it gives us that balance, and it provides some awesome benefits that we might not expect. Okay, so moving on. Next up is minimizing stress. So we did a whole discussion on stress. And the issue with stress is that it becomes a horrible cycle with sleep. Stress causes a disruption in sleep patterns, which leads to more stress, which leads to more disruption in sleep patterns. You see how this cycle goes. It is an ongoing sort of pile up of horrible stuff. So if we can think about proactive ways to minimize stress, I'll be happy to send you guys my stress newsletter, and then the video from 2 weeks ago should also help with focusing in on that and making it a manageable thing. And then in the video, we talk about several health issues that arise from too much stress. It is not a neutral thing. You know, in our history, we needed stress to run away from things. Now it's almost always imagined stress. You know, wondering what's going to happen at work, wondering if coworkers are going to be okay with what we're wearing, wondering if friends are going to desert us because we said the wrong thing. You know, there's a ton of stress that we imagine that can lead to these health problems, and we might be stressing about something that has not happened and never will. So just sort of being present, being in the now, and understanding that not everything that goes on in this world is within our control. If we can focus on what is within our control, then it naturally will help us manage this stress. Again, very straightforward stuff. And I've had people say, you know, well, that's just too obvious. And so if it's too obvious, then, you know, why is that person not already practicing it? So, any questions about stress and how it relates to sleep?
No, we all experience stress for sleep. I mean, we all come across stress that bothers us right into bed. The problem is being able to put that aside until another time so you can sleep.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to give you some strategies on how to do that. Okay, so we're skipping screens in most foods after 9. We're minimizing stimulant use after dinner, getting some sun in the morning, minimizing stress. Next up is the room you're trying to sleep in. That has an effect on your ability to sleep as well. So I like to say that the bedroom is for sleep and for sex. Sorry to go there, but that's what the bedroom's for. Do everything else somewhere else so that the room you sleep in is totally dark, silent as possible, phone's in airplane mode, and if you can bear to do it, ditch the bedroom TV. So we condition ourselves for a lot of things. And if we do a bunch of stuff in the bedroom that isn't sleeping, our bodies are conditioned for those activities instead of simply being conditioned for sleep. If we only use the bedroom for sleep, then we are conditioning our body and our minds so that when we go in there, it's both consciously and unconsciously where we go to sleep. So again, these things seem too simple, but they can certainly make a difference. You know, the amount of light is critical. The amount of sound is critical. So if you can control those two things, you can certainly make a big difference. And then unless you are the emergency contact for whatever people in your life, then maybe going to airplane mode overnight isn't a good idea. But electromagnetic fields can definitely cause a disruption in circadian rhythms. So those are my recommendations for the room you sleep in. And again, piling these strategies together can make a more profound difference over time. So another thing that plays very critically into how well we sleep is how much we move our body. So I don't necessarily like to equate moving the body with exercise, although they are essentially the same thing. But exercise has a negative connotation around it, especially for people who do not do that. And so a lot of people think that if they are to start exercising, it's got to be 3 hours in the gym and they got to get sweaty as crazy and have to go through this rough, extremely difficult process to get what they need out of exercise. And so what we know is that just 1 hour a week consistently moving your body can drastically improve heart health. So adding an hour, just 20 minutes a day, 3 out of the 7 days a week is 1 hour. That's 1/168th of the total time we have per week. So if we take out sleeping time, it's still 1 out of 112 waking hours. So if we can say to ourselves, I believe that my sleep and my health is worth less than 1% of my time, it's just a different way to look at that block of time. 1 hour is less than 1% of our waking time during a week. So most people can say, yeah, I suppose I can set aside less than 1% of my time for my heart and for my health. So, if you already have a regimen of moving your body, adding an hour to that can also give us the further benefit. We are creatures that were made to move. And when we stop moving, health problems find their way into our lives. It's inevitable. So that's another amazing way to change the quality of your sleep and to improve ability to stay asleep through the night. Those things that we're looking for as we try to improve these things. Any question about moving your body and exercise? So then, inevitably, we will have nights when we just can't fall asleep, can't stay asleep. and fall into that cycle. So there are many, many natural tools that we can use. And so, for example, a jasmine plant in the bedroom is shown to be effective, or rather as effective as some sleeping medications. So there's some simple, interesting ways that you can allow nature to step in and do its thing. So here's a couple other ideas, and I'm gonna email this stuff to you so you don't have to write all this down, but just some basic ideas for natural sleep solutions. Yoga, these are all proven to help. So yoga, listening to calming music, meditation and mindfulness, melatonin and serotonin rich foods, deep breathing, massage, Reiki, writing and reading, chiropractic, Tai Chi and Qigong. The example I gave with jasmine, and there's several other plants that can do the same thing. Aromatherapy with essential oils, CBD, relaxation exercises, healthy food by eliminating vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and then calming herbs like cowper root, lavender, chamomile, valerian. So those are nature-made solutions. Unfortunately, man-made solutions can cause severe side effects and may even make the problem worse. So with a few healthy habits, we can make a significant difference in how we sleep without having to worry about these predictable side effects. And by using nature's toolbox, we may even get some unexpected benefits rather than these expected side effects. So anytime we use a different exercise program, starting up with herbal medications, anything like that, I always encourage my clients and anyone else that I talk to discuss this with their doctor and make sure there's no complications. So that is sleep. And like I say, I'm going to send you guys this newsletter I was following so that you can have that handy when you need to refer to it. Okay, so any questions about sleep? Did I skip over anything that you were wondering about?
No. But we all have our different rituals.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you feel like something like that is standing in your way, I can certainly offer a different might about that type of ritual. Some rituals can keep you up at night. Other rituals can help you fall asleep. So it kind of depends on what that is. But if you want to reach out and we can chat about that separately, I'd be happy to give you some thoughts on that part of the team. Okay, so next up, we'll just chat about hydration. And so by having them just kind of come up with an average amount of water that they drink every day. And I asked them to give me an estimate of what they drink every day before they start keeping track. Okay. And so in every single case, the estimate was almost twice as much, if not more, than what they actually drank.
Chris,
Just keeping track, they realized, right? I'm Are you still with us, Gene?
I just said that your feed is stopping and then breaking up.
Okay. I'll just go with that. So we unfortunately are stuck in hydration with a sort of sense of how much we're drinking. I start working with a new client. One of the first things I have them do is start keeping track of their hydration. And inevitably, their estimate of how much they drink every day is far, far less than what they estimate. Once they start keeping track, they realize, wow, I'm not even close to what I thought. So what that tells me is that it's like not my clients that fall into that. There's probably quite a few people out there who have a sense for how much they drink, but when they really start keeping track, it can surprise them. So that's something to keep in mind, is that unless you're actually keeping track, the amount you think you're drinking every day may not be accurate. So the reason why I like to talk about hydration as it relates to health is that hydration and dialing it in is, to me, the best way to first start listening to what our bodies are telling us. Okay. So when it comes to hydration, our bodies give us messages. And unfortunately, these messages are confusing. So what happens is, let's say it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon. There's a ton of people I know that 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon hits, it's yawn time. They're exhausted from whatever. And they're searching for some energy. A lot of times they'll turn to food. The body's saying, hey, I'm dehydrated. And unfortunately, the first message from the body when we're dehydrated is not thirst. It's typically what we label as hunger. So this mild hunger that we feel tells us, hey, go grab a snack. And so what the body's really saying is, hey, we're thirsty. So what we typically do in that case is go grab a snack. And how much water is in that snack? If it's a big old orange, there's a decent amount of water in there. But I don't know what to snack on fruit. Snacks that I'm familiar with in most cases are very dry. And so eating a dry snack when you're dehydrated perpetuates the dehydration and makes it worse. So a key to that is recognizing that if you feel tired, hungry, or thirsty, it's the same message, except that by the time you feel thirsty, you are already dehydrated. The body only sends I'm thirsty as a message when it's becoming a somewhat dire situation. So that's a little bit about the language, but why do we want proper hydration? So the key there is it prevents headaches. It prevents most injury-related or exercise-related injury, most skin dryness, most body temp issues, most day-to-day energy issues, most dry mouth issues, along with certainly most other standard dehydration symptoms. In addition, the body cannot properly detox. The liver and the kidneys don't work right when dehydrated, and losing excess weight becomes much, much easier when you're properly hydrated. So, what does that mean? How much water do we need to drink? Looking around, need trusted resources. I see a gallon or more per day to keep hydrated. And that's when you're not exercising vigorously and sweating a ton. So under those circumstances, a gallon and a half or more is recommended. And so again, journaling can help you kind of dial that in and become aware of how much you're actually drinking. So I always recommend a gradual increase to get up to the number you're shooting for. If you're at, say, 40 ounces a day, I don't necessarily recommend a jump to 128. I recommend adding 1 glass per day for a week, and then the next week add another glass, the next week add another glass, until your average is creeping up towards your target. So, feeling lethargic, feeling hunger, those are typically thirst in disguise. And so, a big glass of water, when we feel those things, can be a way better solution than what we think our body is asking for. Okay, here's the habits and some hydration secrets. So before taking an OTC or something for that headache, drink a couple glasses of water. When you start feeling the headache coming on, the vast majority of headaches will simply stop their progression. The reason behind that is that when we become dehydrated, since the brain is such a high percentage water, it gets swell. When it pushes on inside of the skull, it creates that pressure and associated. Another tip, drink 1 to 2 glasses when you first wake up. And that may energize you so much you don't need other pick-me-ups. For a lot of people, coffee, caffeine, etc., that's more of a habit than a need. Habits are the most difficult thing in the world to change. So I'm not here to tell you guys not to drink coffee, but I'm saying you may just not need it if you find yourself hydrated at all times. Third tip, and I sort of touched on this before, but when you feel hungry, that familiar feeling, feel a little bit of rumbling in the stomach, begin to recognize thirst. And even as mealtime approaches, when you're like, wow, I haven't eaten in hours, it has to be hunger. Drink a couple glasses of water, and the urge to eat may disappear. And if you eat something, great. Your digestion has already been started. When we drink water, the body naturally and automatically starts increasing the amount of stomach acid to get us ready for mealtime. there are many who recommend not drinking while eating because it dilutes the stomach acid and it keeps us from absorbing all the nutrients from the food we're looking to get out of them. Then 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, we start yawning like crazy. And so drinking a couple glasses of water, get up, walk around the building, around the house, something, get outside, get some fresh air and walk 5 minutes. And you'll be amazed at how awake you will feel after some water and movement. So then before activity and exercise, drink a couple glasses of water right before, and then bring enough so that you can sip regularly throughout the activity. And as you're sweating, that will help replenish. So here's an idea, sort of dry skin challenge. So if you notice that your lips are dry on a regular basis, that's dehydration almost always. So build yourself up to a gallon and drink a gallon of water every day for 30 days. And then report back and let me know differences you notice with your skin. I think you'll be very happy with how that goes. So with this type of discussion, I mentioned several steps here that can make a difference. I encourage you to just pick that. Pick one of the steps with hydration and start to incorporate it, see if it can start making a difference. So are these things proven to help you? Not really. You haven't gotten there, but they've proven to help many others. So it's certainly worth a try. And with natural solutions, there is a far lower chance of having a problem with mixing drugs and whatever. There's a lot that can happen there. So any questions or thoughts about hydration and what it means to our energy, what it means to all that stuff?
Is there a correlation between
Okay.
hydration and sleep?
Yeah. So think about during the day. Imagine going 8 hours during the day with no water. That's what we do every night. So sleep is absolutely bound to determine to leave you dehydrated. So a lot of people avoid liquids for hours before they go to bed because they don't want to be up all night peeing. And I get it. You know, that's not a great feeling. And it's hard to get enough sleep if you're constantly up. So what I've read and then found for myself when I dialed in hydration is that at first I was peeing more often than I had ever peed, and leveled off. And I found myself peeing at the same frequency, but it was just early. So maybe this is too much information, but that's what I experienced, and I've read that it's very common. First, it's frustrating, and you feel like you're peeing constantly, but then the body can balance that out and get into more of a regular rhythm that we're familiar with. So I encourage you to drink a glass of water right as they're going to sleep. You get up once in the night, I would say that should be okay. It's really difficult to stay hydrated and also never have to get up at night to go to sleep. So they are related in that it's difficult to stay hydrated overnight because of mentality, because of that habit of avoiding water at night. Any questions or thoughts? Okay. So, like I say, I will send you guys. Tyler, do you mind stopping the recording?